Sometimes you just need a change of pace. You need something that gives you that warm, fuzzy, cozy feeling. So I'm here today to give you cozy book recommendations. These are the top 5 coziest books that I read in 2022. Number 5 is a surprise for me. This is The Witch of Blackbird Pond. I did not go into this book knowing that it was a cozy book, and I was surprised with how warm and cozy this book felt. This is a historical fiction middle grade book about a girl who is orphaned and she decides to go live with her family that is living in a Puritan settlement in the Americas. When she arrives, what she's really looking for is home and family, and she finds that in unexpected places. This book really is about developing friendships and finding a place to belong. And that's what I loved about this book. And I think that's what made it feel so cozy. It's looking for that found family. Number 4 is Isla to Island. This is a graphic novel, and I kind of struggle to get into graphic novels, but this one worked for me. This is about a girl from Cuba who's immigrating to the United States in the 1960s. She's immigrating without her parents, and she's moving in with relatives in the United States that she's not as familiar with, that she hasn't seen for a while. And it's about her redefining what home is as she's readjusting to a completely new place. This graphic novel is told in almost entirely through pictures. There are very few words in this, so the story of this girl's journey is through the illustrations and through the colors. This is also surprisingly part history, part ode to books, because our protagonist is also a book lover and finds solace there. It is a really heartwarming, beautiful story. I was not expecting just how beautiful and touching and heartwarming this book was going to be. And even though there's like barely any words in this story, it literally had me tearing up. I was so touched by this story. So definitely recommend, even if you're not into graphic novels, I think you should give this one a go. Number 3 on my list is kind of a cheat. I'm going to say the Wayfarer books by Becky Chambers. I read 2 of them this year. I read Record of a Spaceborn Few and The Galaxy and the Ground Within. These are slice of life fantasy book, not slice of life fantasy. These are slice of life science fiction books. These are books 3 and 4 in the Wayfarer series, but these are basically written as companion novels, and you can pick up any book in the series without having read the previous one. Though all of them were good, so I recommend anything Becky Chambers for cozy book recommendations. Record of a Spaceborn Few is about people living on the Exodus fleet. The Exodus fleet was the ships that left Earth when Earth was no longer habitable, and humans boarded these ships and went into outer space and found that they weren't actually welcome in alien worlds. So they have just continued to travel and make their home aboard their spaceships. This is basically the setup for the story, but this happened several generations ago. We're following future generations who have literally been born and raised on the Exodus fleet. This book is also about home and belonging and family and finding your place in the world. You can see that there's a theme here. I definitely have a theme that I like, but it's really just about the day-to-day happenings on these spaceships, and it's such a beautiful read. I've reread this book so many times. It is my favorite of the Wayfarers books. The 4th book, The Galaxy and the Ground Within, is a completely different story. We have no humans in this story. It is basically an airport. It is an airport in outer space. It is a shuttle stop where these travelers are passing through, and they get stranded at this shuttle stop on this planet. The host of the shuttle stop, Ulu, hosts these passengers who end up stranded at her shuttle stop and tries to be the best host she can. And we also see from the perspective of all of the passengers, and we learn about their life, why they're traveling, and it's a really beautiful story of just their like interactions with each other and learning more about other creatures. Every single one of these aliens is different, and I found that really interesting because we get to like delve into a little bit about each alien culture. This is my least favorite of the Wayfarer books, but I still really enjoyed this book, and I would definitely recommend it for a cozy read. Number 2 is Legends and Lattes. This book is amazing and super cozy. This is about an orc who was a mercenary, and she has decided to give up the mercenary life and start a coffee shop in a place that has never heard of coffee. This is also a slice of life fantasy because it is her journey just opening this coffee shop. We do have like a side plot of the dark underbelly of the city that our protagonist has decided to open the coffee shop in. I wasn't as invested in the side plot, but I do think it was really important for our character development of our protagonist, because whenever she's faced with this adversary, her first instinct is to pick up her sword and fight her way out of things. But she really has decided to put that life behind her, and she kind of has to struggle with that and decide what she's going to do. But the most interesting part of the book, the A plot of the book, is her opening this coffee shop, her finding a property, renovating it, figuring out her menu, worrying if any customer is going to show up to her coffee shop. I was so invested in this coffee shop. I don't recommend reading this if you're hungry, because we definitely get so many baked good descriptions. There's cinnamon rolls, and there's just so many things that are described that are part of this coffee shop. It was such a cozy read, and definitely a little bit of a found family aspect in this book as well, but also just more themes of starting over and really deciding what you want to do with your life and going forward with that. I definitely recommend this if you're looking for a cozy slice of life fantasy. And number 1 on this list, the most cozy book that I read this year, is A Wizard's Guide to Defensive Baking. This is definitely one of my favorite books that I read this year. Actually, all of these are favorite books that I read this year. I don't know why I said this is my favorite one, although it is at the top of the list of the cozy books. In A Wizard's Guide to Defensive Baking, people who have magic specialties. And our protagonist's specialty is baking and baked goods. So again, not one to read when you're hungry. But our protagonist can make the best baked goods in town, and she ends up getting caught up in a murder investigation because someone is murdered in her bakery. And then she finds out that the kingdom is going to be attacked and someone's trying to overthrow it. And she's literally going, I'm just a baker wizard, but she still wants to help out where she can. She has this gingerbread man companion, and she decides to use gingerbread men to help defend the city. It is an awesome time reading this book. It is fun, it is humorous, it is surprisingly deep for as silly of a plot as it is, and I had so much fun reading this book. It's definitely not as slice of life, but I still found it very cozy. Even though there's a lot of things going on, yes, there's a murder investigation, yes, there's going to be an attack on the kingdom, we're seeing it from the point of view of someone who's just trying to make baked goods and make their way in the world and not really worry about all that. They don't want to be caught up in all of that. And I found that really fun to read. It doesn't feel as large scale, it feels very small scale because we're focusing on this one protagonist who just wants to bake her bread and her gingerbread men and her other sweets. So I found this a delightful read, and definitely recommend it if you are looking for a cozy fantasy that also has a plot and is not just slice of life. If you've made it this far in the video, leave a cloud emoji in the comments, because clouds are soft and fluffy. At least we can imagine they are. I know they're actually cold and wet, but like, we can pretend they're fluffy. So leave a cloud emoji in the comments and let me know if you've read any of these. Let me know if you have any cozy fantasy recommendations that I should check out. And happy reading.